300 blackout build. First shots. Hey YouTube, Elvis Ammo here. Hey, so that was my my missiles that I loaded, that I cast the other day and showed you guys. That was my 230 grain missiles, all right, that I cast out of my 230 grain Lee missile mold. All right. Well, here's the target that we just shot. And by the way, this is my new 300 blackout. I'll tell you about it in just a minute. This is going to be more about the missiles than the rifle, but there's not a lot to tell you about, and I'll go over it. Here's our target. That was the first shot. That was the second shot. That was the third shot. That was the fourth shot. Alright. The first two that I shot was in a separate magazine. And those were unsized. And the second two that I shot was sized ammo. Alright. These little lines represent 1 inch, by the way. And I did that for you guys so you could see where they land. All right. So anyway, one of the things, one of my only concern, first of all, the ammo has every bit of it that I have fired in my testing has fired flawlessly in my new 300 blackout, and that was very exciting. By the way, so I can't help but to smile and be extremely happy right now because everything worked out great as far as I'm concerned. The only concern that I have is with some of the brass that you use to load may be a little too thick in the neck, depending on the rifle maybe that you have, on the tolerances that your particular rifle has, that it may not chamber as well as it should. You want that bolt to lock every time. We know that. So anyway, and I'll tell you about my concerns on the ammo that I've fired, on any problems that I'm having in chambering, what I'm doing about it, and some things that I may have done to cause the problem myself. Okay. So anyway, you can see, as you can see on this target, these are pretty round holes. I mean, they really went through pretty and straight. Okay, there is absolutely no concern there. There's the back of the target where the 4 bullets went through, so we know that these are nice and straight. That's what we like. Okay, so now this is the bullet that I'm loading, and that is those 300 Blackout out of the Lee mold, the Lee missile mold. That was the 230 grain Lee missile mold. All right, and this is what the bullet looked like right here. All right, that's the bullet. That I fired. 230 grain missile. All right, now I fired 2 of them sized and 2 of them unsized. Be honest, all the testing that I done was ones that were unsized. Why I did it that way, I don't know. The testing that I did was limited too, by the way. I didn't have time to do as much as I'd like to have. But the good news is, the next thing is on the missiles. Now I tried IMR 4198, and I know that I can make a good bullet with it. I haven't spent enough time with it. I had some good luck in testing, but mostly I had bad luck with the 4198 stabilizing the bullet. As far as function goes, on my new 300 Blackout, everything functioned flawlessly. Feed and locking back, everything did what it was supposed to do. It was actually backwards from what I thought. I thought the 4198 was going to do better than the 4227, the IMR 4227. That was the powder that seemed to stabilize these bullets the best. All right, these 230 grain bullets. I couldn't do no wrong using the 4227. No matter what I made with it, it fired straight. You know, so anyway, that's the cred for the 4227 with these missiles. All right, now on the flip side of that, I used some of these that are typical 30 caliber rounds, and that's a 170 grain bullet from the Lee mold. I thought that these would work just fine. And now with the 4198 or the 4227, these would fire just fine, but I couldn't get them to feed. All right, they have the rounded flat nose, and the ogive is just a little too steep. They don't taper enough. Okay, so that's a problem for that bullet. I had some suggestions of Lyman, if I remember. I can't remember the number of the Lyman mold, but it was a 308 bullet, and I think it was 311 410 Lyman mold. So anyway, I had a recommendation or two for that mold, and I may very well give it a shot. And any suggestions that you guys have for a mold that that tapers well and that will feed a 300 Blackout, that would be wonderful too. So anyway, like I said, both of the powders functioned and fired this thing beautiful and straight, no problem. But feeding was a no-go. It's not going to happen. All right. So that's so far what I said is just an absolute success. As far as these missiles go, and the 4227 IMR is what made those happen. Now I may try some other powders as well, but I'm very happy with that. Now I did, however, I was surprised just before I made those shots that you guys see me make. I went ahead and fired a couple of them over the chronograph. All right, and the speed on that bullet was way higher than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was way down conservative, right? And but it was that bullet that I fired was about 1,288 feet per second. All right, so that's not what some of you want to hear, because you want to know, can I make this subsonic? And I will. I don't see a problem at all of doing that. I can't imagine there being a problem, but I will go through that and I'll show you guys and I'll report back. So anyway, huge success. It was faster than I thought. I just couldn't believe it. And as far as the feeding, it's not feeding issues, chambering issues. Now, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. In this 300 blackout that I built, you know, this upper came from Hardened Arms out of Washington, and they make them right there, made in the USA. So anyway, I don't know if well, I know for sure, you know, that the tolerances in different chambers are going to be slightly different, and that's fine. But one concern that is a known concern with 300 blackout and reloading them is different brass has different thicknesses. All right. So, you know, when you measure the thickness, you know, you measure the thickness of the edge of the brass, all right? And, you know, like that one right there is giving me 10/1000ths of an inch, all right? Well, that's about that's about where you want it to be, 10 or a little tiny below. But I've had good success with 11 and even 12. There's a 9. All right, now this is federal ammo, okay? So anyway, those I know feed just flawlessly. The wolf brass that I'm using, the NATO, it's you know, I'm gonna be doing another video on this. I can't really get into this right now, but I wanted to make clear about, you know, there are some issues chambering some of this brass, okay, and that's something you want to watch close, and that's why, you know, when you heard me after I announced I was going to make my first shots with my 300 blackout, that's why you heard me, you know, rack the bolt one more time, just because I'm a little gun shy, and I didn't realize it, but I was out of the good ammo that I made with the Federal, and I was down to my Wolf. So anyway, it chambered and it you know rechambered the next round, you know, just fine, no problem. But it's a concern, and I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you in a follow-up video how to overcome some of this and what you can do to maybe mitigate it, you know, completely. So anyway, let me tell you about my, on the ammo, just huge success. Everything has functioned flawlessly in here, and I've learned a lot of good things along the way, and that's kind of the fun of some of this project. So now I'm just going to quickly tell you and show you what I've got. Here's what I've got. I've got an upper made by Hardened Arms. Here's the box. All right. Hardened Arms, Washington. This is their business card. All right. So I haven't run this enough to say, you know, give you a thumbs up on it or not, but I feel like I have run it enough to put a little smiley face sticker on it here. So I put a little smiley face here because all in all, I know that this thing operates with everything I've shot in the test. And I was actually very surprised that everything that I've fired has functioned. Okay, now I'm going to tell you exactly what I've done to this. Alright, now some of you already know by looking at this, you already know that this is a polymer lower. Some of you guys already recognize it. It's an Omni hybrid. Alright, now why did I go with that? Probably because it was 50 bucks. Alright, and you can't go wrong. This was their newest version of their polymer lower, the newest version of any polymer lower. This is the new version of it, and they actually incorporated a lot of metal inside of it in places that it needed to be. So I went for it, and I thought I would give it a shot, and then I would tell you guys about it. And now my first impressions of this lower when I got it, it was in this box right here by American Tactical. One good thing about American Tactical is their headquarters is right here in South Carolina, and that was a plus. I think they're in Sumter, South Carolina. All right, so and then this magazine right here, you guys are probably like, what's on that magazine? That's a PMag. That's going to be another issue that we're going to talk about later. And if you guys have any suggestions on 100% reliable magazines, and by the way, I have not had an issue with the magazines that I've used so far. Gen 2, Gen 3, and I think it's called the B&H by Palmetto State Armory. I've had no issues with them so far. Alright, so here we go. I'm gonna let you look at this, and then I'm gonna tell you about it. Alright, I'm pointing a gun at you guys. I know you guys love seeing this, so I'm gonna give you the view. And I don't blame you. I want to see it too. Alright. So there we go. That was the upper from Hardened Arms, and it came. I went ahead and got a controversial upper too, by the way. All right, I got the 14.5 inch upper with a pinned and staked flash hider. All right, and I know some of you guys are like, that's just stupid. Well, honestly, I just cannot see myself getting a suppressor, and I'm not real big on flash hiders or muzzle brakes and all of that. I put most of my stock into like ammo and things of that nature. All right, I just want a lightweight, simple flash hider. The reason I got the 14.5, probably if I had to do it all over again, I would just get a stupid 16 and forget about it. And I know some of you guys are probably like, yep, that's what I would have done. Oh, by the way, let me just, we got an empty mag. Alright. You see it lock back when I pull the bolt. Empty mag. And we have a nickel boron bolt, and I went ahead and when I bought this from Hardened Arms, I went ahead and got their nickel boron bolt as well, because the price of it was as good as anybody's price on a nickel boron bolt. So the reason I bought the nickel boron is just because I know for a fact that there's people that have problems with feed issues in their 300 blackout. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to mitigate any problem with feeding. And you know, obviously with a nickel boron bolt, it's going to slide easier. You know, it's kind of a self-lubricating bolt. All right, and so I went ahead and used that. Now, on the reason I wanted and now this upper has a pistol length, and you can see the gas tube in here. It has a pistol length gas tube. I don't know if you can see it in there. And so one of the things that I liked about having a longer, instead of going with a pistol or SBR, I wanted to mitigate again any chance of this thing not functioning or functioning, I mean, with pressure problems. So I got the pistol length gas tube, and that allows for all this dwell time between the gas tube and the time the bullet leaves the barrel. So that was that was my thinking, okay, and I love it. You know, I was like, okay, it'll be a tiny bit shorter. So these 300 blackouts just don't require the same length that you would need for another type rifle with the cartridge that it uses. So I went with it. All right. So there you go. That was my thinking on that. As far as the build kit for the lower, the build kit came from Palmetto State Armory, and it was you know, I paid kind of a premium. I'm thinking, you know, when I was going to put this together, you know, I was going to spend a little less, and you know, we all know you get excited and that don't happen, but I did all the things that I really needed to do. I felt like I kept it to a minimum without going low quality. So what I did was I bought this. I think I spent 170 bucks, and this was the nickel plated trigger, and some of you guys already know what kind of stock this is. I think it's the EST version, the EST. And it's pretty darn cool. I love it. It's got the rubber here. It's a Mo. It's got a rubber pad, and it's got a locking mechanism right there. It don't wobble at all, really, trust me. Works great. And on the other side of the stock has a little door right here. I really like that. You know, you can put something in there, you know, that pertains to your weapon. You know, if you want an extra little kit in here, some extra O-rings or springs or something like that. All right, and then on the grip, it's got a little plug right there. You could put something in there, shove a piece of foam in there, and have some extra parts there, or earplugs or whatever. Oop. Okay. Only YouTube will make me do all this. Alright, and it just clips back in there. It's actually pretty easy. I made it look hard. And then the sights on this thing. The sights are just some backup sights that I had already, and they're kind of cheapies, pretty much. I mean, they actually work pretty good, and they seem pretty tough. But I haven't decided on an optic or other sights, so for now I am just going to use these. I may actually decide on I really like the Nikon that I have on my 5.56. I may get something similar to that Nikon for the 300 blackout. Alright, I'm not real crazy about battery operated stuff, but one of you guys want to buy me a Trijicon or an ACOG or something like that, I may go for it. So So there we go, YouTube. As far as my first reaction, my first impression of well, let me tell you. I'm going to give you the benefit. I'm going to give you the good and the bad of the Hardened Arms experience. Okay, the good part is it probably came a little bit faster. Now they make these things pretty much when you order them. Okay, so I mean, if you want one of these, it's not, you know, they do have some stuff in stock you can get, but you know, it could be 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on when you order it. Was no problem for me. It was really, it was kind of what I wanted, and the price of it, I believe it was like $3.59, and then $125 for the nickel boron bolt, and I think it was $20 or something for the charge handle. All right, so I just went ahead and got that. Now, whenever you, even though you can take your bolt and charge handle out of your 5.56 and use it in your 300 blackout, one thing I'll caution you on, and I don't think it's a deal breaker, just something to think about. Now, this bolt kind of gets trained inside your upper receiver. All right. It kind of forms its own little groove, and they kind of form a marriage in here as that bolt slides through your upper receiver back into your buffer tube. Okay, when you fire a shot. Now those things are as minor as they may be. Just something to think about. Can you use the same bolt? Absolutely. 300 blackout, 5.56. I don't necessarily like the idea for the reason I just mentioned. Anyway, so that was my thought on that. Now the upper receiver, when it came to me, it was this is a 10-inch tactical quad rail. All right, and it was turned slightly. It was cocked just slightly where it did not line up perfectly here. And I was a little aggravated about that. You know, I even called them and just see what they would say, which they were very nice, answered the phone, everything, and they just told me, you know, if you'll just take the little nut in the back and loosen it up and twist it where you want it and tighten it back down, which is what I thought. But I just wanted to hear what they had to say about it. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there so I can be completely honest and tell you exactly what my feelings were. Okay, now on the lower, I'm gonna give you the good and the bad and the ugly. All right. So now this thing married up pretty darn tight. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just break this down. Now you just seen what I did. Do you see right here? There's an indent right here. All right, because this polymer is thicker than your metal lower, you can't push it with your finger. So you got to use something, anything, a bullet, anything that'll fit. You know what the size of it. All right. So that's that's an issue to me. Although not a deal breaker. Okay, so now what you've got is this is I mean, you see how thick this is? It is really thick. And right here where the buffer spring goes, that's metal right there. All right, so there's impregnated with metal inside of the polymer. It's good. I mean, it's really thick. Now it was actually so thick that I had to file a little bit right here so that my charging handle will clear when I pull the bolt back. All right. So that right there, you can determine whether or not that's a deal breaker for you. Now on the front takedown, it's normal. Except for it's still very hard to push right now, which is normal as well. Alright, but you can eventually, I'm assuming it'll loosen up to the point where you can give it a push with your finger. So anyway, you know, that's pretty much it. Now the now there was one important thing that I did too. Now, remember I said I was wanting to mitigate all of the issues, any issues of having this thing, you know, not function properly. So another thing that I done is, first of all, anytime you mess with your buffer spring, okay, that's not a solution. It's not necessarily a solution for a problem that would normally be a gas problem. Okay, so but let me just say, since I already knew that I had, I was pretty sure that I had everything worked out, that I still wanted to do everything that I could to make sure that I was going to have no issues. So I bought, and this is, you can see this this buffer. I don't know if you can see it or not. It has Palmetto State Armory stamped on the back of it here. But anyway, I bought a buffer spring. All right, and the buffer spring is actually made for a 300 blackout. It's called a Nemo. So maybe you guys have some experience with this. I bought it from Brunel's, and it was about 15 bucks, by the way. I mean, that's an expensive buffer spring. But what I wanted to do, again, I wanted to get ahead of it while I was getting everything to put this together. I wanted to go ahead. Now I weighed this, and it weighs exactly half the weight of your normal AR spring. Alright, but I wanted to show it to you and tell you what I done, because I just got through making a couple of shots and telling you guys that everything functioned flawlessly, and I don't want to tell you that without telling you of anything that I have done to the buffer spring. Alright, because that could be important information. So there you go. I just wanted to throw that out. I used this Nemo 300 blackout. It's called a 300. You can see the Brunel's on the back. So I just went ahead and used that. But I got a feeling that now normally when you mess with a spring, by the way, normally when you start messing with a spring, sometimes people do it for, you know, reasons of desperation. Now normally when you mess with a spring at all, you're fine tuning. Okay, you're just fine tuning. It's not and there are some things that you can look at, some signs. So when you fire, if your brass is shooting straight out beside you, that's about where you want the brass. That means that your spring and action is working about right. And this isn't 100%, by the way. This is within this window. But if it's shooting forward, then it's possible that your spring is too tight when your brass is deflecting. And if it's going backwards, then it's a sign that it's possible that your spring is wore out, or it don't have enough tension on it, and it's possible you need to replace your spring. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw a little bit of information out that I've learned, and I thought I'd throw it your way. So that's my that's my AR. Now I spent $179 for the lower parts kit, $359 for the upper, and what else did I get? Oh yeah, the lower receiver itself, 50 bucks, and then some miscellaneous, $15 for a spring. So that's